chapter 13, verse 42, 43, and 44. Let's read that together now. Whose were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath. Now when the congregation was broken up, many of the Jews and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of God. And the next Sabbath day came almost the whole city together to hear the word of God. Skip with me down to verse 50 to the end of the chapter. But the Jews stirred up the devout and honorable women and the chief men of the city, and raised persecution against Paul and Barnabas, and expelled them out of their coast. But they shook off the dust of their feet against them, and came unto Iconium, and the disciples were filled with joy and with the Holy Ghost. And the word of the Lord is blessed. Before you sit down, just simply turn to your neighbor and tell him these words. Say, neighbor, I'm persuaded. I'm persuaded. Amen. Amen. That's it. That's as simple as I want to put it. It's persuaded. I am. I'm persuaded. I'm persuaded. I'm persuaded. I am. This might sound a little personal this morning, but I'm persuaded. I am persuaded. I am persuaded. There, in the Acts of the Apostles of Jesus Christ, those that are carrying on the gospel in his absence, as he is now seated at the right hand of power, as he had proclaimed even to his accusers, to those that carried out the crucifixion. He prophesied and predicted to them that when they got finished doing what they were going to do, he was still going to be seated at the right hand of power. And so with that confidence, he began to ascend into heaven. But before he did, he spoke to his disciples, those that were following him. They would go on carrying the gospel with the same attitude, the same type of fervor, the same aggressiveness. And in carrying the gospel of Jesus Christ, I am persuaded by now, I've preached long enough to know that you have to be aggressive. You have to be aggressive in preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. You have to be aggressive because there are sometimes, even the preacher goes through some things sometimes that would tend to pull them back down to another level. And it's usually a level that you have overcome. Maybe everybody might not understand that, but there are levels that you overcome. Let me tell you, one of the first levels that you overcome is the nervousness. Am I speaking to anybody? Sometimes you get nervous when you receive the assignment. You haven't even studied yet, haven't even stood before the people. God haven't even spoke to you yet. But on the invitation to do so, somebody know what I'm talking about. You get a little nervous. That's a natural reaction. And then before you know it, you could have preached for 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden you get an invitation to do something, and nervousness set back in. Oh, okay, maybe y'all didn't get there yet. You could have been walking with God a long time, doing some of the same things that you get familiar with, things that you believe that you have overcome. And then all of a sudden when you're asked to do the same thing that you're used to doing, but all of a sudden there's a feeling of nervousness that comes over you. It's natural, yeah. And see, but what that is, Satan is trying to bring you back. He's trying to take you back to a place that you have already overcome. But let's talk about the places that we've overcome just for a little while. In the places that we've overcome, it wasn't you. You didn't overcome it by yourself. The anxieties that you had, the nervousness that you didn't overcome all of that by yourself. It took prayer. It took fasting. Let me tell you something else it may have taken. It may have taken some words of encouragement from outside. Anybody every now and then need a word of encouragement? Okay. And sometimes when you don't get it from outside, let me go to the word. Every now and then you got to encourage yourself. Okay, I ain't talking to nobody. Every every now and then you need to encourage yourself, but you only do it in the Lord. Yeah, don't encourage yourself in self. That's not going to last long. You got to encourage. Verse number 50. We talking about God's people. What they'll have the nerve to do after a good service. This is what they did. They talking about God's people, the chosen ones. Verse 50, but the Jews. They ain't talking about no heathens. They ain't talking about no, I'm talking about the Jews, the ones Jesus came to. It said the Jews stirred up the devout and honorable women and the chief men of the city, and raised persecution against the preachers Paul and Barnabas. The preachers, and expelled them out of their coast. But I love the way they handled it with aggression. Bible said they shook the dust off. That's what you got to do. You can't afford to handle it the way you used to. It ain't saying that you forgot how it goes, but you can't afford to lose your salvation over a knucklehead and a knucklehead experience. You got to learn how to let some stuff fly. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk. You got to learn how to let some stuff go. You got to let some stuff just rub off you. You got to wear some folk like a moo-moo. You young folk don't know what a moo-moo. I know you don't know what a moo-moo is. A moo-moo is a loose garment. You know what it does? It only hits you every now and then. You young folk don't know what no moo-moo is. That's all right. That's all right. That thing's so loose and big, it be swinging while you walking, but it only hits you every now and then. That's the way you gotta wear some folk. They can only afford to hit you every now and then when they hit you, you still moving. You gotta learn how to walk with a moo-moo, let it hit you every now and then, and keep it moving. Because I'm like Paul. He said, I am persuaded that I'll let nothing separate me. Oh, God. From the love of God. I'm persuaded this morning. Oh, God. You can stir up as much as you want up in here. I'm persuaded that I'll let nobody drive me out of here. I'll let nobody separate me from the love of God. I'll let nobody talk me out of walking with my pastor. I ain't gonna let nobody, y'all ain't gonna talk to me today, that's all right. Oh God, all the underlining chatter, all of the voices in the crowd, all of the stuff behind the scenes, on the phone, on the internet, nothing should separate you from your God. Let me tell you, out of all of the experiences that you've had with God, you mean to tell me you're going to let something that you heard change something you saw? Y'all ain't going to talk to me. I've seen enough miracles that chatter ain't going to drive me away. I've been with God long enough to know that the voices in the crowd, I got to have a discerning spirit. That the voices in the crowd might not always be saying what thus saith the Lord. If you don't have a life with God, God ain't speaking to you that often. Y'all ain't gonna talk. I got prophecy for you. How come you? Okay, oh God. How come you got so much word for me? Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk. The Jews stirred up some things. Do you understand what stirred up is? It means that something was lying dormant. Something was laying at a place where it needed to be laid, at the bottom. But you got some folks want to stir up your past. Y'all ain't gonna want to stir up your sinful life. Want to go in that sea of forgetfulness and find the list with your name on it.